Coming to you from the mountains and the plain. The only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire. Joe Otto is in the parking lot on his way into his studio, but we wanted to go live because we know we had some people waiting to watch, and we didn't want to keep them waiting any longer. So he'll be here in just a second. Today, we're going to shift gears a little bit. The last couple days, we've been talking about how Democrats, how big tech stole it. And that's not to say that it's over. It's not to say it's finished. It's not to say that what they did and what we've talked about, what they did, it's not to say that that is irreversible. But we spent the last few days talking about what the left did, what big tech did, what Dominion voting systems did. If you haven't watched our yesterday podcast, make sure you do. Really, really informative. Today, I want to talk about what Trump can do, what Trump is doing, because it's really interesting. We have lawsuits being fired all over the place. Lawsuits being filed all over the place in Pennsylvania, in Nevada, in Michigan. They're filing lawsuits. They're now challenging Wisconsin, mostly challenging all the things we've talked about, the discrepancies, the differences in vote tallies, like we saw in I think it's Antrim County, Michigan, where a so-called glitch, resulted in the county going blue when it should have gone red. So the Trump legal team, the GOP, are filing a bunch of lawsuits all over the country, and they're hoping that a couple of them will stick. Let's go ahead and put up my screen real quick. Here's news out of Pennsylvania. The Trump campaign just filed a lawsuit. Evan, can we put up my screen? Come on, Evan. No? There we go. Oh, Joe's in. That's why. Let me log on. That's why it's not working.
All right. You guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, man. Sorry, hold on a second. Joe's back on. There's my screen. It works now. Great. Trump campaign just filed a new election lawsuit in Pennsylvania. And the way that they're using this lawsuit is very ingenious because it harkens back to the Bush v. Gore case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. The idea of the state of Pennsylvania violating the 14th Amendment, specifically the Equal Protection Clause. And that's the idea that all Americans have a right to equal protection under the law, and no class of citizen, whether it be what party you belong to, what county you live in, should have more rights than someone else. Thanks for joining us, Joe. You ready?
Yeah, I apologize. It's been a crazy day, as you know, and I'll bring it up as to why in a little bit, but crazy day. Go ahead. Sorry, Max.
So the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution states that if you have one class of citizens, they have to be treated the same as someone else. So if you treat different classes of citizens, whether it be where they live, what party they are, all different types of protected classes, things like sex, gender, race, religion, etc. When you violate that, it's a big deal. So in Florida, the way it worked is, a lot of people don't know this, but the question that the Supreme Court was ultimately answering was whether or not Gore could force a recount in only 3 counties. I believe it's 3 counties or 3 districts, however Florida divides their map. Gore only wanted a recount in 3 districts. And the argument was, well, wait a minute, no. How can you say we're going to give extra scrutiny to these areas of Florida, but people living in other areas are not going to have a recount? Maybe a recount over there would find more votes for Bush, right? So that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled, no, you cannot have a partial state recount. It's all or nothing, because that would violate the Equal Protection Clause, and it would give people living in certain areas more rights than others. And by that, I mean the right to have their ballot looked at more than once. So the Trump campaign is filing a lawsuit in Pennsylvania, already has 105 pages, which is what's amazing, Joe. They claim that, did you see yesterday Fox News cut away?
Yeah, when they were talking about going to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Yeah. So all weekend, Fox News has been saying All weekend, Fox News has been saying, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? Where's the evidence? So the Trump campaign spent all weekend, and I'm going to email this over to you, Evan, our producer standing, because Josh is still sick. I have an abundance of caution since he has flu-like symptoms. They filed the lawsuit, right? All weekend, the media, the left has been saying, well, if you put your cards on the table, if there's evidence of fraud, you have to tell us. So the Trump campaign finally did yesterday, and lo and behold, as soon as Kayleigh McEnany gets up to the podium, Fox News cuts away. And Mr. Producer, Evan, I am emailing over a video cut for you right now. So, if you can drag it in, that'd be great.
So I want to say something, Max. So overnight, by the way, I've been getting some really nice phone calls. Some, I'm going to kill you and hang you and do all sorts of stuff to you. It's been a really fun night. So I finally put a block on it. So I want to tell everyone.
Peaceful liberals.
I want to tell everyone one thing, right? First of all, I fear no man. I fear no man. No man. And frankly, I've got some of the state of the art equipment at my house. Obviously, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I've exercised that right very well. And I'm associated with an organization that protects people, so. I don't see this as a winning game or strategy for them, but this all came on the heel of what we did with Eric Coomer yesterday. And so we're going to start launching more things. But the reason why I want to just stop for a minute is that we have the biggest army, right? We have the biggest army. If you want a story told, because we actually I talked to my friend who works for Fox News, and I said, hey, you need to break this story. And he's like, Joe, I've been told to stand down. So when I tell you that you have the biggest army, we are the biggest army. Like we are. You, me, everyone that's listening, we're the biggest army. And so what I'm proposing that we do is that the podcast you saw yesterday, I want everybody to go ahead and take that link and just put it everywhere. Go to Newsmax, go to OAN, although I think they're actually already in the mix. Send it to state legislators. Send it to. We're compiling all the information so you'll be able to get to it in a cloud format.
Evan, can you turn Joe up? He's really, really quiet.
Okay, sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Just people are saying they can't hear you.
But our biggest army is us. Like we're the biggest army. Just to repeat that, right? And so you have to become a soldier in this army. You have to be a soldier in this fight. You can't decide that it's hopeless and that now Biden's going to undo everything that President Trump did and just be okay with it, right? And the fact that he's not president, but he's claiming that he's already the president. The news media is actually claiming that hey, he's already the president-elect, right? They're walking away from Trump, and frankly, we're the army. We're the people that can make a difference. So the podcast yesterday. I'm going to put a link to where we're actually going to store all the documents of Eric Coomer's files. This is damning stuff, right? Nobody could say, I'm impartial. I take this hat off when he's in his Facebook page telling people to un-Trump me and F Trump and F Trump followers. He has no regard for people, right? And he runs the security of Dominion voting systems. And he's a shareholder. Confirmed this morning, he's a shareholder, right? What's even more disturbing is some of the other information we'll give you on some of the other shareholders. See, we're going to break this wide open. But again, I want to come back to the fact that Trump will win. But we have to stand as an army. We have to stand up. We have to actually do the things that we're supposed to do as people, as citizens of the United States to make sure that our voice is heard. We can't just say, we'll worry about it in 4 years. There won't be a 4 years. And as you start researching Dominion, Max, you go all the way back to the elections that led to socialism and the voting systems they do and the connections to those people that those voting systems were used that actually still now work for Dominion voting systems. You don't think they're trying to break down the strongest capitalist societies in the world? You don't think that this is a conspiracy? It is a conspiracy. Yeah. It's a conspiracy against us as Americans. So again, I'm going to tell you, you have an obligation to stand up. We are that army. Again, I fear no man. You go ahead, send me text messages and emails.
Or woman.
Or woman.
Or woman, we have to be politically correct.
I fear no one, right? I fear God.
I fear my wife.
I fear God.
I fear one woman.
But I'm going to tell you that at some point, we are going to have to get past the censorship. We're going to have to get past this weaponization of everything around us. Look, if it looks like a skunk and it smells like a skunk and it walks like a skunk, it's a skunk. And right now, that's the Democrat Party, right? They are evil. We're talking about evil people that have banded together.
So you mentioned the Fox News bit, how you reached out to people at Fox News and said they have been told to stand down. And as you were coming on, I was talking about the whole idea that Fox News all weekend was saying, listen, it's time for the Trump campaign to put up or shut up. If they have evidence, they have to actually
It takes time to get evidence. It takes time. You don't think it took time for us to get that? We were supposed to launch it on Saturday, Max, and then Sunday. And then I was like, we're not ready. And even when we did launch it, there's so much information that we were trying to figure out, what do we put out? What do we not put out? And then you caught it, said, hey, look, you can't put this out because they have people's names on it. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even think about that. Nobody ever said anything about that, right? But the reality of it is as I start researching those other people that are connected to Eric Coomer, they become more important, more pertinent to this investigation. But there's so much that you guys need to understand that it's difficult to just jump out there and say, all right, here's the information, because then you lose credibility, right? The information that we actually pushed out yesterday, that was credible evidence. I didn't make that up. I didn't just, Photoshop Eric Coomer in there that he said all these things. I didn't even Photoshop the lawsuit or anything else. We did nothing. We told truth.
Yeah.
And Facebook still blocked us, by the way. Facebook still blocked us. And they still tried to throttle us, and they're still throttling us right now because they don't want this message out. And you're the warriors. Yeah. Like, you are the army of Americans. You, the people right near listening. It's your responsibility to share this. Your responsibility to talk about this. It's your responsibility to be bold. What are you doing?
So the reason that we are so fired up about all this is we've been talking about the discrepancies. We've been talking about the voter fraud. Joe apparently now has a puppy in studio. Things going on. He's making moves there.
Tig's actually in studio. Yeah.
Oh.
We'll put him on. We can.
So we can bring him on. We've been talking about all of this evidence of fraud, the irregularities, how the more you dig, the more questions you have, not answers. And as I said, Fox News demanded that the Trump campaign put up their evidence all weekend. The Trump campaign finally held a press conference yesterday, and look how Fox News treated it. Evan, let's go ahead and put up the first video I sent you.
We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
Whoa. I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make, that the other side is effectively rigging and cheating.
They are rigging and cheating. Hey, Tig,
all weekend, they say, put forward your evidence. Right before they went live with that, hi, Tig.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Right before they went live with that.
Put his mic on, please.
Yeah, right before they went live with that press conference, they filed a 105-page brief in federal court outlining all the allegations. So Neil Cavuto didn't read that.
No.
She's out there laying it all out, and he cut away. He said he cannot in good conscience continue to play it. It's ridiculous. And before we talk about it, I want to play this. Tucker had a great reaction to it last night. Anyone who didn't watch, I don't watch Fox News anymore. We don't watch it. We're off of Fox, but I do watch clips on Twitter. This was Tucker Carlson's response last night. Evan, let's play the Tucker video.
Where a large percentage of our population no longer believes that our democracy is real.
It's not.
That is sad. It is also dangerous. It could easily get worse. What we're doing in response is hardly the solution. It is making our country much more volatile. It is setting us up for something bad. In a democracy, you cannot ignore honest questions from citizens. You're not allowed. You can't dismiss them out of hand as crazy or immoral for asking. You can't just cut away from coverage you don't like. You can't simply tell people to accept an outcome, because force doesn't work in a democracy. That's dictatorship. In a free society, you have to convince the public of your legitimacy. You have to win them over with reason. Democracy is always a voluntary arrangement. Telling voters to shut up is never enough. So in this case, tonight, there's only one way to lower the national temperature.
There's no way to lower it until you actually count the legal cap.
Was that the end of the clip?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. So it's cut off. But he's calling out Neil Cavuto for cutting away. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. And yeah, I'm out on Fox. Tig, are you out on Fox?
I haven't really watched mainstream media in a long time. It's just it's more to division than it is a unity, anyways. Because the media has just been they want to
destroy everything.
Yeah, they just want to keep dividing because I would say anger promotes, anything that's courageous, they don't really promote anymore. Anything that's division, anything that's negative, they're on top of it. Like at the rally down in the Springs, they're all over the freaking the protesters that are protesting the Stop the Steal rally. I mean, they're over there hanging out with them 90% of the time, filming them. What are they doing? And they didn't really. They talked to a couple of the pro Stop the Steal protesters, but for the most part, I mean, I got video. They're just on there. I mean, they're just over there. Again, they just want that division because that sells. That gets them the views. So, again, I quit watching Fox News and all of them.
And I just want to say this. I saw you post this on Twitter. I didn't know if it was real or not. People were talking about it. You got run over at one of these protests, right?
I got hit by a car, yes. It was a group of pretty much little teeny boppers, like I keep calling them. It was two dudes and a chick. They're doing like U-turn laps, NASCAR laps, because they can only go left.
Yeah.
So they kept doing left turns. And it was a red light. We started walking. They freaking tried to whip a quick U-turn, almost hit me immediately. I yelled at them. Of course, I got my dog with me too. And they stopped, and I go, "What are you doing? You just ran a red light." And, the officer yelled at me, "Get out of the way." And they freaking lurched forward and hit me in the leg. I smacked their car. I go to jump out of the way. They rev. They hit my leg again, so I smashed their windshield, and they took off. So regardless of how you look at it, they can't say they're in fear of their life because, for one, they went down and came right back. Because if they're in fear of their life, they wouldn't have turned around and come back. So, it's a hit and run, but that's how the left.
So you weren't run over; you were just hit.
Yeah, I was just hit.
Some people were saying you were run over.
No,
I saw you tweeting after that, and I assumed that you weren't really run over.
No.
No, that's great. It's getting so heated out there, and what's crazy is that we're not allowed to even ask the questions anymore. You're not even allowed to say, well, isn't that interesting that a glitch flipped a county from red to blue? Maybe we should make sure there aren't glitches in other counties.
Listen.
No. Fake news.
Everyone needs to understand how software works, right? Glitches don't happen, right, in patterns. They don't happen in patterns, right? Okay. Irregularities and glitches don't happen, happen in patterns. I'm sorry, they happen in patterns. So in other words, if you have a glitch over here, it would be with the same software, the same type of glitch over here. It's the same. Yes. It's the same software. There are two massive problems with Dominion, right? One, it's connected to the internet. And they lied about the fact it's connected to the internet and that it's impenetrable because they have some sort of hardware on the IP, right? You can't do that. No, everyone knows it. There's not a system out there that can't be hacked, right? Especially not a Dell computer with a USB drive, which is how they actually update systems. No. And Georgia proves that they were actually making a software update over the internet during an election day, right?
Yeah.
You cannot do that. And then they said, well, it wasn't a massive deal, so it didn't need to be recertified. Yes, it does. Anytime that you actually do something that is not transparent, it must be recertified. So regardless of what happens, Georgia is a foregone conclusion. They have to revote in Georgia. Now, when we start talking about, and they're going to have to revote, not count. They're going to have to revote because the system itself is absolutely fruit of the poison tree. But if you start looking at the other areas like Pennsylvania and Michigan and even Minnesota, right? Arizona. And you look at when they actually installed the Dominion system and you look at the irregularities of the counties that did not have Dominion, it's impossible. Well, you don't even need the Bedford law. You don't need it.
Well, this is what's so infuriating. Mr. Producer, go ahead and put up my screen. This is the certificate of accuracy for I believe it's the Dominion machines, whatever electronic voting machines they were using in Arizona. So they basically said, okay, we're going to do a test. We're going to put through a bunch of ballots and make sure it counts them right. Notice how the Democrat representative showed up to sign yep, this is working. The Secretary of State's office sent 3 representatives, but notice that the GOP is not present. That's because the GOP in Arizona allegedly did not actually send anyone to be there to certify that the machines were working as they should have. So we can scream about irregularities, and we will. But this is absolutely infuriating. This idea that the GOP had an opportunity to go down there and put the voting machines, put the tabulators through their paces, and to see if maybe they could make them glitch out, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're just throwing as much as you can at it and seeing whether it can handle the load, handle the volume. The GOP didn't even send anyone there.
Did they know about it?
That's what's so infuriating.
Yeah, did they know about it?
Yeah, they knew about it. I mean, this is a...
I mean, how do you know that? I mean, they could. I'm saying they know about it now, but did they know about it when they're testing it? That's what I'm saying. They could have
kept them in the dark. That would be a really big scandal if they kept them in the dark. The Secretary of State's office is saying they just didn't show up. So this is in Maricopa County, a big county that Trump needed to carry a lot of votes in, and if the GOP didn't show up, that's a huge error, right? Yeah, we can talk about the discrepancies, but if they had a chance to possibly find them a month before Election Day and they didn't even bother to take the shot, that's so infuriating.
I mean, we got to find out. Again, it goes back to, did they know? And if they did know, why didn't they send it? And who said don't go and watch it? I mean, that's...
Well, but they did it in other states, so you don't even know if they were actually invited to the party. I mean, that's the whole problem, right? There's so much chaos. See, there's opportunity in chaos. If you can create this chaos everywhere, right? It's like the Our Revolution guy, this Chris... I'd be curious to see where that guy ends up. We're going to find out where that guy, Chris, what's that guy's name? Our Revolution guy.
Yeah, I have no
Chris
idea.
Jacks. We're going to find out where he ends up. But the issue is that there's so much irregularity, so much this, that I don't know how any judge could look at it and go, oh, but you don't have proof. Because they're really good at hiding it. They put people in positions. It doesn't mean that the math doesn't add up. It doesn't mean that the fraud's not there. The fraud is there. Right, when you have a guy like Eric Coomer doing what he's doing, and he heads up the entire thing that is actively has most of the systems in 29 states, including every one of the swing states, we have a problem. We have a problem. And the fact that they don't want to do a recount, why would you not do a recount? If you were right, why would you fight a recount? Why?
Yeah,
you have a voting
that's what
system.
We talked about yesterday.
Why?
Coomer on his Facebook said he didn't want to recount.
Why doesn't DOD make the voting machines?
Because it's not supposed to be federal. It's supposed to be state-run.
It's state by state. Even ballots are actually printed on state by state.
Obviously, it doesn't work because we need a more secure system that actually validates and secures our voting. Because
it's third world.
You can't allow.
It's third world. We're talking about third world technology that they've actually been able to sell as first world technology. I could build their voting system in my basement. I kid you not, people. I could go to Dell and buy a system. I could build it in my basement, put it out there. I could build an optical scanner. I could build all of the things that they use at Dominion. And I've been through every part of their site. I've been through every RFP. I stayed up last night till 4 o'clock in the morning, just going back through it, just going back through each one of the pieces and parts. I kid you not, a 5th grader could write the code that they use at Dominion.
So the reason that it's not federal is it's the idea that you want to decentralize. You don't want the federal government to have control of it, just like you don't want the federal government to have control of most things. So the idea is make it decentralized, allow states to
That's what I'm
decide.
saying.
It's not. It's not. It's centralized on
it's
Dominion.
Decentralized.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's decentralized, and then they all hire the same vendors.
But they're saying that what I think I was reading, actually, it's controlled by France, which they sold the product to China.
It's actually let's make sure we don't do any fake news here, okay?
No, that's Canadian.
It's Canadian. It's a Canadian company that actually purchased it. They sold the election devices in Georgia in 2019 for $100 million, actually $104 million, right? That was the RFP. They were not the cheapest vendor, and they were not the most expensive vendor, right? That was inside that process. But the other process, one of the people that was actually lower was disallowed, right? And 2 of the people that have actually put in bids for federal election that are just entering the marketplace are using blockchain technology. And blockchain technology, by the way, cannot be broken. You cannot break blockchain. You could actually know that you actually voted, and the system, when you go back into it, would tell you who you voted for, and you couldn't change it, right? So that technology already exists, and several of these states, Democrat states, have said, no, we don't want that. We don't want it.
Well, let's explain it. Let's explain it for viewers, because not everyone probably knows what blockchain is. Basically, if you think of blockchain is the idea of anytime there's a transaction, there is a foolproof, unchangeable ledger that proves that this person did this, So with blockchain, when you think of like cryptocurrency, when you're trading cryptocurrencies, it's not secret. There is a ledger that proves that this amount of cryptocurrency was mined by this person. You don't know the name. It's a string of letters and characters. But it also tells you in that ledger when cryptocurrency changes hands. So you can't just kind of just like hide it and change hands. I guess you could trade an entire wallet. But anytime cryptocurrency changes from wallet to wallet, there is a recording of that in the ledger, just to put it in a very simple terms. So the way it's designed, it cannot be hacked. It cannot be faked because everyone has the ledger. And it's basically, it's power in numbers in the sense that if everyone has the ledger and one person tries to change their copy of the ledger, you can basically compare it to everyone else's. You say, well, that's fake. Obviously, that didn't happen. So that's like a very general understanding of what blockchain is. And yes, it makes complete sense to do that in terms of voting, because when you incorporate those strategies into it, you make it hard for people to insert or add extra votes, right, to stuff a ballot box, because it wouldn't have that code in the ledger proving that the ballot changed hands. So that's kind of like a really simple explanation of what blockchain is and how it would apply. And listen, we can have a federal system. I mean, I like the idea that in Maine and Nebraska, they try out the concept of giving electoral votes whoever wins the states and then divvying up based on congressional district. If they want to do it that way, they can. In Maine, they have ranked choice voting. They're trying it out. The idea that you vote for your first choice and you also vote for a second choice. And if your first choice doesn't make it, your vote goes to your second choice if there's not a victor over 50%. If states want to try things out, they can try things out. The challenge, as you guys are talking about, is when states are supposed to be independent. They're supposed to be the laboratories of democracy, and they're all using the same damn vendor. That's not decentralized. That's centralized in the hands of a for-profit entity.
And that should be the argument going to federal court. That should be the argument going to the Supreme Court, right? Is that you have someone that is extremely biased, that has been a part of this Dominion voting systems for a long period of time. He is on Facebook saying, unfriend me, F Trump, right? He's posting things that literally say F the USA, right? F cops, ACAB. I mean, this is coming from the guy that runs security at Dominion Voting Systems. And they own 29 of the states, of which all the ones that we have problems with, that we're questioning irregularities, are all run by Dominion. I don't care. That's a smoking gun. The guy literally is trying to destroy what we have as a republic, right? He's trying to destroy it. And you can't, you have to look at it for what it is. You have to literally look at it and say, listen, we can have a conversation about truth. We can have a conversation about the fact that you actually don't have an actual thing. Yes, we do. When a USB device disappears in a police car, no, it didn't. Allegedly, it happened.
It's still alleged. It's still allegedly.
Oh my God!
It's still allegedly.
Do we have an affidavit from the police?
Allegedly.
But how about the police officer?
No, not yet. It's still alleged.
This is the crazy
part
about it.
The fact that we're even talking about it.
The fact that we haven't actually turned that over, the fact that the Department of Justice is not involved in this, that they haven't raided Eric Coomer's house and they haven't raided Dominion Voting Systems business, and the fact the FBI is sitting on their hands, this all shows of a coup against the American people. The American voice is not being heard, period. You can say whatever you want, but your vote didn't matter. The American people's vote didn't matter because they've decided it by using this Dominion voting system. Dominion voting systems runs this country right now, ladies and gentlemen. They run it. Not you. You have nothing to do with it. I'm mad. I'm really angry.
So let's talk about how we fix this, because we've spent a lot of time talking about how it was taken, or at least they're attempting to steal it. Let's talk about how it gets fixed. And in my mind, there's really three different ways it can get fixed. There's either a revote, which we revote it. I guess technically there's four. It could be a really stringent recount, a revote.
Well, it only takes a day.
It'll have to be decided by Congress or have to be decided by the legislature. The challenge of revoting is that's a lot of revoting. I mean, in the races that we've seen, it tends to be called for a single congressional district. When they identify fraud, they redo a congressional race. And that it's expensive, it's hard to logistically manage, but it's not an entire state. So when you're talking about multiple states, that's the only problem I have, is that not that it isn't deserved, not that it's not the right thing to do, it's just the logistics of it given the fact that the Electoral College has to vote on December 14th, that's a ton to try and do. And maybe you could get Pennsylvania to revote. Maybe you could get Georgia to revote. But that's a lot. It's a lot to try and schedule and plan logistically in a little over a month. Have a full recount. It's hard. Do you think a recount's possible? Do you think we can get there?
I think we have to get there. I think yeah. What do you think?
I agree. You do an actual recount where both parties are actually present, or you do a revote. I mean, just redo it. I mean, if there's that much potential fraud, it needs to be redone and has to have equal amount of representation with the equal Democrats, equal Republicans, and it just otherwise we are a third world country. I mean, I think the Iraqis had more of a better voting system than we did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Saddam Hussein didn't even have midnight dumps of ballots showing 100% of 100,000 ballots going to him. Like even Saddam Hussein knew to spread it out.
147,000. So let's be very clear. It's not 100,000, 147,000. And by the way, he is literally winning in these states by 0.51%. I mean, you want to talk about anomalies that have happened? I mean, in Pennsylvania, so it's just outside the recount area, right? I cannot tell you right now we are any closer to a civil war than we are right now. Joe Biden goes to the podium to accept the inauguration, and they think that the people that voted for President Trump are going to remain silent. They think we're going to allow that to happen. We're not, Max. We're not. There's 100 million people in this country right now that won't stand for it. And by the way, the most important thing that Biden said he's going to do when he actually becomes president, day one, is get back in the Paris climate deal, rejoin the WHO. How does that have anything to do with you and I? How does it have anything to do with us? How does it have anything to do with the United States? Please tell me. How does any of that have anything to do with the United States? How? You tell me how that has to do with how we're going to be a better country. How does it help you, Tig?
It doesn't help me at all.
I'm so angry. I'm angry, but I'm calm angry. Like, so I realize that it doesn't help to get irrational like the left. I'm not going to get irrational like the left, right? I'm not. But I am going to make sure that there's accountability. I believe in God 100%. Like, I believe God literally, he's never talked to me. I've never had a burning bush moment, but I do believe that God is involved in all of this. And there was a reason why I was researching Antifa. There's a reason why I was on that phone call. There's a reason why my friend sent that text message to me that made me go, wait a minute, this guy, wait. Oh my gosh, this guy's Antifa. Wait a minute. And all 40 states actually use Dominion voting systems? Oh, I gotta know what's on his Facebook page. Right? So then I got his Facebook page. Wait, when I got in his Facebook page, Max, would you believe the email addresses tied to accounts that are tied to him in different social networks and what they say? Oh, I haven't even begun to tell you about Eric Coomer. Oh, no.
We can't share private email addresses.
I can't. No, and I didn't.
That we will get kicked off.
But I've been able to uncover other things, and you know that piece of crap, Antifa journalist in Colorado Springs, and the 4 Antifa journalists that are up here in Denver, and the one that's in Grand Junction, and the 2 that are down in Pueblo. Look, they're going to come out. All of that information is going to come out. Right? And the emails that they use and their screen names on Reddit and what they're actually talking about when they're on Twitter and their hidden URLs are tied back to emails. People are stupid, by the way. Antifa people are stupid. Like, if you really want to cover yourself up, you should be able to. You should, but they can't because they're idiots.
Mr. Producer, put up my screen. Joe, you say that you're nervous, but also not. I'm not nervous because of this. It's always darkest just before the dawn. It seems like a dark moment. Goodness. Yeah. But Donald Trump's going to come rising over the horizon like a Teletubbies baby son.
Fire.
It's always darkest just before the dawn. That's why I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little nervous, but the things that they're bringing the arguments on, I mean, so a redo of the vote is possible. It's at least theoretically possible. I don't think it's possible in terms of Pennsylvania, because that would take the legislature and the governor working together. Republican legislature, Democrat governor are not going to agree to hold a new special election. They're just not going to agree to it. But you might be able to convince a federal judge it probably would have to go all the way to the Supreme Court because it's that big. But we talked about it yesterday. In North Carolina's 9th district, you had a race decided by 900 votes. And it turns out that the Republican side hired a contractor that was ballot harvesting. So they brought that evidence before the judge, and the judge said, listen, this is too much. We cannot trust the results because the results were fraudulent.
Where was that?
Redo it. It was in North Carolina. It's the 9th congressional district. It was actually last year, 2 years ago. It was a 2018 race. I think they redid it in 2019. But that's the deal with Congress. You have time. You can leave a seat empty for a year, right? The challenge with this, and we'll talk about this a little later, if there is no president declared, if the Electoral College does not decide on a president, if Congress does not break a tie or resolve disputes, Joe, do you know who becomes president?
Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi. So we don't want that. None of us want that. That's even worse. At least Joe Biden, it's weekend at Bernie's with Joe Biden. But
it's not weekend at Bernie's. Make no mistake. Your taxes are going to go up. Black people are going to be suppressed even more than they've ever been before. While that's actually happening, they're talking about how the Republicans are the ones doing it. When in actuality, it's not. The Republicans aren't doing it at all. They're doing it. Right? They're doing the same thing that they do in their states, right? Which is destroy the fiber of the minority communities, right? They're going to allow illegals in, which means more Americans are going to die. They're going to enter the Paris climate change and funnel billions of dollars to special interests, including Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, right? This is stuff that's going to happen on his watch, right? And he's going to undo the things that over the last 4 years that helped industry, right? Allowed for fracking so we can become oil independent, right? Allowed for a fair trade between Canada and South America. I'm telling you, he's going to undo those things because it destroys the fiber of America. And if you're not paying attention, people, the truckers are pissed off. Truckers are pissed off. Your gas is going to go to $4. Your taxes are going to go up. I mean, I don't know of any worse scenario than having two socialists sitting inside the White House, right? And then by the way, they stole elections. And by the way, the seats that we actually picked up on the House of Representatives, the seats we picked up, guess where they were, Max?
Where?
They weren't in swing states or swing areas. They were actually in areas that did not use Dominion voting systems. Truth.
So Brian just wrote in that there's no constitutional provision that allows for a revote. That's actually not the way you would look at it. You would look at whether or not the Constitution forbids a revote. The Constitution is a list of enumerated powers that are given to the government. If it's not listed in the Constitution, it's reserved to the states. I mean, that's the whole deal. So if the Constitution does not forbid a revote, you cannot say it is unconstitutional to have a revote, as long as that would happen theoretically before results are certified, before the slate of electors are sent to the Electoral College, and before the Electoral College actually votes for the next president. So it's yes, it doesn't say anything about it, but that's kind of also the most powerful argument for that potentiality, since it doesn't forbid a redo, which is how they were able to do it in North Carolina. Since it doesn't forbid a redo, it's technically allowed. It would be up to the legislatures or a judge.
So the legislators have an opportunity, and we're going to put this out there, by the way. The legislators have an opportunity to not certify the vote, right?
Yes.
Now, if they don't certify the vote, a recount is possible. A revote is possible in those states.
Yes.
There is a provision to actually, I mean, it's not a provision, but it's not a provision against it. There is a provision that actually can postpone the inauguration, right, of the president in areas where there would have to be.
Then Nancy Pelosi becomes president. That's the challenge. When you look at the 12th and 20th Amendments, if the Electoral College is split and there's no resolution, if Congress can't come to an agreement and there's no president, no vice president named, then Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, becomes president until such time as a president is actually decided. So that's the challenge, right? The presidency can never be vacant. There's always a line of succession to fill that seat.
So you think this is their plan?
I'm sure that they planned it out. I'm sure. Look, they're a tech company. Why? How could they not?
You know, going back to the whole trucker thing, though. I don't know if you guys hear the rumor. They're they plan on going on strike on the 29th.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
Good.
If that actually happens, that'll grind this economy to a halt. I mean, at least the local economy of being able to go to the store and buy stuff. You'd be surprised at how fast You'd be surprised, though, how fast it takes, how quickly things can just start flying off the shelves. And if there's no trucks replenishing your bread, replenishing your perishables, you'd be surprised at how quickly those shelves go bare.
Yep.
So, Mr. Producer, go ahead and put up my screen. I'm doing a lot of research, and I love reading academic papers, and this is really interesting. It was an article published in the Loyola University Chicago Law Journal back in the winter of 2019, and it's by a man named Edward B. Foley, Preparing for a Disputed Presidential Election, an Exercise in Election Risk Assessment and Management. I don't want to go too far into it, but anyone who really likes reading this stuff, this guy does a great job of explaining what could happen, and he actually kind of hits the nail on the head. In his hypothetical scenario, he's talking about Trump going up against Elizabeth Warren. He got that wrong. But what he's laying out is a scenario where Trump goes into the lead on Election Day. And he says, well, what if Trump goes into the lead on Election Day voting 20,000 votes ahead in Pennsylvania? But naturally, Elizabeth Warren claws back that 20,000 votes during a recanvass and retakes the lead after Election Day. And he's talking about all the hypotheticals of the Republican legislature certifying the Election Day vote, the governor certifying after the whole totality of the vote. What's incredible to me is you can see this. Win an electoral college majority, Trump is ahead in the state by 20,000 votes. That's their hypothetical worst case scenario. Like this guy, he's wargaming the whole thing out. He says, well, could you imagine if Trump was leading by 20,000 and then he disputed the election? Well, here he was leading by 400,000. I mean, that's the crazy part of this. He was leading by 400,000. It's not a 20,000 vote swing that they say naturally can happen during a recanvass, during a full canvass. So even the war game isn't as crazy as what we're seeing today. I don't know. Anyone who wants to read this, it's a great article. They go through in depth all of the laws, all the constitutionality of all of it, preparing for a disputed presidential election, an exercise in election risk assessment and management by Edward B. Foley. I'll put the link in the description. Really, really interesting stuff if you're a nerd and like that. What were you going to say, Joe? Were you raising your hand?
No, I was just telling them they were working in the office today to do some work, and I kept hearing it outside the room. So I was like, what's going on? So I sent Evan to
quiet him down
a little bit.
Yeah, hush, hush.
So so there is good news, right? Everyone should know about, and that is, I have been in touch with someone who has put us in touch with the Trump attorneys. We will be having a conversation with them. What I said, what I heard on that call in late October is not hearsay because I heard it, right? So I actually
if you had heard from someone else, then it would be
hearsay. I'd heard it from someone else, but it's not hearsay. So I made sure that I spent a little bit of time just making sure, and we had talked about it, right? We had talked about the fact that I was on the Antifa call, right? Mm-hmm. At the end, not the end, but near the end of October. I was laughing about the fact that these guys think they can steal an election. I thought it was funny because I never in my mind, we don't think that way. See, we don't think the way of stealing our republic. We don't think the way of silencing the American people, but that's what the left does. The left literally stands for socialism, right? It stands for communism, and communism means that a select group of people get to tell us what to think, how to feel, what to eat. They get to tell us everything. And if you don't think that that's what's happening right now, I mean, what do you think?
It is what's happening. I mean, look at the Democrats right now. They are trying to do it right now. And again, they're not even technically all the way in power. And we're letting it happen. I mean, again, I just go back to here in Denver, Colorado. You have Tay Anderson. He's proud member of the Denver Communist Party, and he's on the Denver School Board. And we're silent. Again, we're letting it happen. We're just giving this country away. This country cannot fall from an outside force. It will be destroyed from within. It is being destroyed from within.
Yeah. And I know we're negative. I know we're talking about how they did it. There is still a pathway.
There's a pathway.
And that is that disputed election. We can do the deep dive into the constitutionality of it. What everyone needs to know is the actual. Well, go ahead and let's put up let me find it. Put up my screen, Mr. Producer. This is the important part of the Constitution. I found it in an article. It's Article 2 of the Constitution. This is the important paragraph. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. So basically what this part of the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, what it's saying is that it's up to the legislature to decide how slates of electors are sent to the Electoral College. Now, many legislatures around the country, actually all legislatures around the country, have kind of ceded that authority. And they've said, we will create a system in which people vote, the Secretary of State's office or whatever executive branch will certify that vote and get sent. But that does not mean that the legislature has given up their constitutional power outlined here to never intervene and say, no, that's wrong, right? You cannot permanently give up a power granted to you by the Constitution absent a constitutional amendment. Only a constitutional amendment can get rid of one of your powers. Basic law cannot. So the argument is that if state legislatures, which we've already talked about on the show, there are Republican legislatures in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, I think, but Arizona might be flipping based on how this works. If those legislatures were to say we are retaking our power under this clause in the Constitution, and we have determined that this was not a fair election, we refuse to certify this, and we are instead going to send this slate of candidates to Congress, that is a way that Donald Trump would win. Now, this is crazy stuff. They didn't even do this during the Civil War. The South just seceded, right? So this is definitely an area of territory we've never gone down. There have been instances where states have decided to send two different slates of electors. In 1876, there was in the South, right after the Civil War, there was a dispute between Republicans and Democrats. Interestingly enough, in that election, there was allegations of widespread fraud and voter intimidation. The idea that Democrats in the South were deliberately trying to stop black people from voting. And the legislatures and the governors in those states, I believe it was Florida and South Carolina and one more, might have been Tennessee, three states. I know that South Carolina and Florida were two of them. The legislatures decided to send one candidate and the governors decided to send another candidate. So that's where it gets really, really weird, because then it would be up to Congress to decide which is the true slate of candidates. And that's where we've really never gotten into a situation where we'd have multiple states coming in like that and the election just completely disputed. It's really uncharted territory. It's possible. Like, listen, Trump can do it. If he can get the legislature in Pennsylvania to say, listen, there's too much funny business to certify these election results, it's entirely possible that they could instead choose to certify a different slate of candidates. The challenge is Congress stepping in and saying that they're going to honor and follow those. It's a weird situation. You game plan it all. I don't want to dive too deep into it because it's really, really complicated stuff. But it gets to the point where it actually could come down to Mike Pence in the Senate. Right? That's how weird this is. Mike Pence, as president of the Senate, he could actually be the guy who counts the votes on deciding whether or not he will be the next vice president or retain his vice presidency. So we've never really done this. We've never had a situation where we've thought the fraud was so widespread we can't trust any of it. And interestingly enough, in 1876, they negotiated, and the Democrats agreed for the Republican to become president if Republicans agreed to take troops out of the South after the Civil War. So there is room for negotiations.
We are headed to a civil war. Make no question about it. We are, right? We are. And we have Antifa members that are basically saying that they're going to dox people that gave money to the Trump campaign. Let me tell you something. The second you take the gloves off, we're going to take the people that voted for Trump are going to take their gloves off too. You do not get to attack people because they wanted to vote for Trump. You don't get to do it, right? You don't.
Well, they can, and then the people who vote for Trump get to put a bullet in them. I mean,
well, they wouldn't do that. That's not how they do it.
You want war game it out. Yeah. If a leftist attacks a Trump supporter simply because they supported Trump, like physically attack them, then it's a self-defense situation.
Well, they tried that to me on Saturday.
Yeah, you got run over, hit by a car.
Yeah, they tried.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Subaru.
You want to see it?
I was going to say, yeah, if it was a Prius, I was going to be very concerned.
We can put
any car can hit you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what was it? And they're down there yelling, saying, "Oh, you guys are just down here destroying property," because they don't want to pay attention to the full story either. They just heard that I smashed the car, and yeah, of course, I'm gonna defend myself, and you come at me, I'm gonna come right back at you.
Here's the thing they don't understand, right? And Max, I'm sending it to you right now, by the way.
On Slack?
Yeah, on Slack, so you can take a look at it.
I can throw it up. The picture of the car?
Yeah, so this is actually a picture with the license plate.
Oh, we can't show that.
Yes, you can. Yeah, it's not putting someone's name out there. Plate. Yeah, you can. Why can't you? Yes, you can.
We can't.
This is the car coming at him that hit him. This is a picture of the car coming at him. No,
listen,
put it up, Max.
I'm not going to get our show taken down because we put up a license plate.
You can scrub the license plate.
I don't want to scrub the license plate. I want to do it because I guarantee you there are people out there that will go through the process to finding out who this person is. Now, we didn't go find out who the person is, although I do now know who the person is. Right? I do.
And that's the point. Like, if we share the license plate, then it's you can easily find it. Right? If you share the license plate, you can find who is behind it. So it kind of is doxed. I just scribbled it out. So let me throw it up on the screen real quick. Hold on, give me a second.
I can actually, if you want, give you a high-res picture of the person that's sitting in the passenger seat, too, if you want.
Well, you can't do that.
I might have done that. That's my point. My point is that they think the left has access to technology, right? They've weaponized technology. What they don't realize is that there are guys like me that just care about just basic rights of people in this country who has the available technology as well. There it is.
So that is apparently the Subaru.
And just so you know, we actually know where that place is. We know.
I know that's the whole point. That's why we can't share the license plate, because anyone can then trace it back if you really wanted to, even if you don't have connections. But that is the Subaru. Interesting. Did you break the windshield?
No, that's beforehand. They definitely need a new windshield.
Okay. So that's important. And people ask, why do you attack the car? The reason is so that if police track them down, they see a cracked windshield. It's a little bit easier. That might not have been going through your head at the time, but you put a dent in the car, you crack the windshield, you tell that to police. If they find that car, it's a lot easier to put two and two together.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure they drove down from Boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have been from Boulder.
Yeah, so somebody asked if Tig actually filed a police report, and he did.
Yep, within just right after the hit. I went and filed a police report.
Did you actually say yes to filing?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Good. He was going back and forth because this is the heart of Tig, right? He's like, should I press charges? Should I not press charges? Like, I know that people are passionate because he is a Democrat.
That's why I don't work with liberals.
We go back and forth on this, but yeah. So, but the point is that he doesn't really want to hurt anyone, right? He just wants to protect people. So he actually thought about it. He's like, I don't want to ruin someone's life. How about that? How about the left wanting to ruin everyone? And then, yeah.
What if the next person they run over is a kid? Right? We saw in Delaware that kid get attacked by the Biden supporters, and they got arrested and charged with assault. I mean, we live in a world where if you're a kid holding a Trump sign, you're also fair game to the left.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to do it, because the next person they try to run over might not be as stout as Tig, might not be as able to defend.
But if I didn't move fast enough, they literally would have ran me over.
Yeah. So that's your agility.
I didn't move fast enough because they still hit my leg. I mean, it still got. I got cuts on my legs and and stuff from it.
It was me.
And so again, but if I'd have been an older person that couldn't, he'd have freaking plowed right through him. So.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, it's been since Saturday. Still thinking about it. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do it. So, yeah.
When the Democrats put their finger on the scale of an election, right? We should be very concerned about what the future holds for Americans. You should be very concerned, and frankly, sacrifice right now is the least of your worries. Like, I don't want to sacrifice too much, right? But frankly, you have kids. Your kids are 8 years old.
Yeah, almost 9.
Yeah. I mean, my kids are 20 and 23. At least they'll get through life before it completely gets destroyed. But what about those future generations? What about opportunity for your kids? What about your kids, Max?
What about your grandkids?
Yeah, your grandkids and your kids you won't even, generations you won't even see or know. This is really
I
scary
mean, they're
stuff.
in Denver right now calling for the abolishment of the U.S. I mean, the people that voted for Biden are calling for the abolishment of the U.S.
Yeah, it's
because again, it's not
really
about it's not about Republican, Democrat. They just want communism. They want the socialist movement. They want the Marxism. They want that ideology. Because it's an easy thing to follow. Again, you're controlled. The people I don't think they actually I think want to be controlled. I mean, that's why all the protests are out there. They're technically being controlled by one person, by an idea, because it's easy to follow.
Yeah, Antifa is an idea.
It's not an idea. It is not an idea. It is absolutely 100% an organization.
I know.
I was, and they call it a decentralized organization because when I was on these calls, right, that I wasn't supposed to be on, look, I'm telling you, understanding how they think is really important to us. We should understand how they think, right? They talk in rhetoric. Like there is no fact to what they say. They rile people up by using the same terminologies. We have to kill. Kill is like a big word for them too. We have to kill all these fascists. We have to kill all these racists. Someone will bring up someone that's in a community. Should we dox these people? Yeah, let's go after that racist. And it's a black person. Like I do research on the person, and they're black, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Yep.
Right? I mean, there's no logic, guys. I'm telling you, this is a sickness. This is something where they've started this indoctrination in high school, right? Elementary school. Then you get to middle school, and you have these teachers unions that have been infected, and they get that ideology out. And then you get, and we talked about this before. You have 50% that are still patriotic as their parents are, right? They served in the military. They sacrificed their life. Many lives were lost, right? Defending the United States. And then they get to college, and you get communist professors that have tenure. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah, which I think is bull. I mean, the colleges, they need to start waking up too, man. But of course, all they really care about is money. As long as they get the money, they don't care. So, what does that tell all the parents? Stop sending your freaking kids to college. Obviously, they're coming out more stupid than they are going in. I mean, send them to trade school. They actually can learn something useful that can actually benefit this country. Versus, yeah. I mean, all the stuff that they teach now in college. It's not. I don't know what as pertains to real life. I mean,
100%.
It's diversity professional, get a bachelor's degree in diversity training, or really,
and spend $100,000 on it.
Yeah, that's it's.
I mean,
I can go do a trade school for HVAC, pay $12,000 a year for that, and I can come out and I can make $160,000 in HVAC for spending $12,000.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the idea of wanting to
paid more than lawyers.
You mentioned the idea of wanting to kill a racist, kill a sexist. This is what the Oxford Dictionary, how they used to define the word bigot, and this was the definition up until a couple days ago. The definition of bigot was a person who is intolerant towards those holding different opinions. That's the definition of a bigot, right? That has been the definition for a long time. The definition of bigot just changed this last week.
No, tell me.
And this is, yeah. And
hey, send me that. Will you send me that, by the way? Send me that in Slack.
This is the new definition of bigot. A person who is obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic toward a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. So you notice the language there. It says especially one who is prejudiced. It doesn't say only if you're prejudiced. So you can be a bigot if you are obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction. We all are. We all support the Constitution, right? We all support the rule of law. We support law enforcement. You can be a bigot simply because you are obstinately attached to the idea of having law enforcement. They changed the definition of what constitutes a bigot. They did it. It was overnight. It was in the last week.
Sweet. So it's something where you can take pride in. Hell yeah, I'm a bigot.
That's the original. That's the new one.
Send those to me,
Everyone's
please.
a bigot.
Big league.
Sure. Everyone is a bigot.
Big league bigot.
Now
Everyone's
they can say,
now.
so if they change, yeah.
BLB.
Big league.
Big league bigot.
Big league.
Well, I believe he's saying big league. Bigleague.
Oh,
Yeah.
I probably agree with that. But hey, did you? I'm gonna try and send this to you, Max. I want to see if we can fact check this to see if it's right. I can't get on Twitter right now because I'm not allowed to. But I'm gonna send you. Oh, sorry, I had a brain freeze there for a minute.
You had a brain?
Not very big one. Well, actually, I could probably say it's big, but just not very functional. I just sent you a link. Can you look that up? It says that. Now, this is what it says. It's what I just sent you was somebody actually just sent me some information at Conservative Daily, and in that
I'm not gonna be able to listen to that during.
All right.
This.
Well,
I can't listen to that during this.
So
I'll listen to it
actually,
afterwards.
it says that Mike Pompeo says there will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he actually did say that, I want to fact check it because I'm like, all right, well, look, the military, by the way, can also play a part in Trump still being president.
No, we don't want that.
No,
we don't want that. We want to go. We want to go by the Constitution.
Yeah,
but I mean, just like we don't want the military to be deployed to drag Trump out of the White House, we don't want the military to be deployed to keep Trump in the White House. Keep the military out of it.
You don't want the military deployed to secure the streets in America either.
Yeah.
You know, people see, I know, especially people a lot on the right. I mean, I want our families to be safe. I want the cities to be safe. Obviously, the Democrats, they don't want to deploy the National Guard in some places. You know, if it really has to do it, that should be the very, very last resort where it's nothing but 100% chaos. Because my thing is, you know, you start sending active duty guys out there, they're no longer part of that city or part of that state. You know, some of them won't be. Where the National Guard, at least they live there. You know, you start sending Marines from freaking 29 Palms out to freaking New York City. They're gonna, when it goes, it's gonna go and it's gonna get ugly really, really fast because they have no quorums of just, I wouldn't say defending themselves. They're going to defend themselves, but if they live there, they're going to take a little bit more precaution of actually using deadly force if they have to, or just force in general. But again, you don't want that, man. You do not want to let loose the dogs of war on American streets.
No, but
I think we'd also be shocked. We'd be shocked at. I think that would be a moment where if that was to happen, we would learn just how much leftism has taken root, not necessarily in like enlisted soldiers, but maybe even in the officer corps, especially when it comes to in the Pentagon, like people higher up in the ranks. I think that would be a moment where it would definitely be a moment of clarity, because it would be. You think of the military as being a predominantly conservative group of people. But there are a lot of leftists. I mean, there's the people pushing for the transgender surgeries for soldiers, right? They're pushing a lot of weird stuff that we never would have thought would be in the military. So not only do we not want it, I don't think we'd be able to count on the military necessarily.
Well, the thing is, we shouldn't have to. I mean, this is our country. We as civilians should be standing up and defending it. I mean, we got this way because we stood up and took it. And now it's it's the same thing, between the North and South. We all stood up and we fought each other then. Hopefully it never happens again, but the way it's going, it looks like it's going to have to happen, just the way the insurrection is going. I mean, the infighting between just us, the infighting between them, and just infighting between each other, it's massive, and it's growing. It slowed down because now they don't know who was really the president. I honestly believe that this bought us a little bit more time for these other groups that are willing to actually stand up and gather individuals to teach them how to defend and protect each other. But if Trump would have won that night, we'd be in chaos right now. If it was a clear night that Biden did win, I think we'd still be where we are. It would just be a little bit more active. But just think of it this way: when Trump actually gets declared president again, you better be ready for freaking hell.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It might be a little too soon to start taking the boards down off of the shops. It might be a little too soon for it.
Well, it is too soon because look, Trump is not actually out there saying, I'm a sore loser, I'm going to take this to court. He knows there's fraud. He knows that Basement Biden did not actually get 12 more million votes than Obama did.
But the thing is, there's been fraud in almost every election, but it was really brought out the first time Hillary and Trump were butting heads. I mean, it was huge even then.
Yeah.
But listen, as soon as they figured out, right, that they lost in 2016, Dominion voting systems went after those swing states. I actually have been going through doing the research on when they went in. They went into Arizona, they went into Michigan, they went into Pennsylvania, they went into Georgia, and they sold them those systems even at a discount. So for less money than they sold other people, they sold them at a discount in order to make sure that they were in those states. Look, the conspiracy's there, guys. And the fact that Eric Coomer is a spokesperson everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you go into. It does not matter what state you go into. Eric Coomer is the single source in all of this in every state. His fingerprints are in Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Minneapolis or Minnesota, Wisconsin. I mean, I can go down the list. He's literally on every one of to make sure that those actually get sold to those particular areas.
So he's George Soros 2.0.
And look, his Facebook stuff and the other stuff that I have points to the direction. And that phone call on Antifa, I got to tell you, I don't know how it's not a smoking gun. I don't know how they have not arrested the guy so far. I don't. But we say this all the time, right? We say that there's a benefit of the doubt given to the left. We cannot give anybody the benefit of the doubt. No retreat, no surrender. Well, that's got to be our motto in how we handle things.
Let's be real, though. The reason that Eric Coomer is not arrested yet is because even if, and I believe you, even if he said what you said he said on the call, that's not enough for police just to go and arrest him, right? They need to build a case. The problem is they're not even investigating, right? They're not even trying to build the case, right? We don't want to live in a country where one person can say, I heard someone on a phone call saying this, and all of a sudden they're arrested.
But I didn't do that.
We do want law enforcement. We do want law enforcement to at least investigate it.
Listen, I didn't do that. I didn't even know that this was a problem. I did my normal due diligence to figure out who the guy is, put it on a shelf, right? That's all I did. There's my notes. It wasn't until I got that phone call, or excuse me, that text message, that I even thought to myself, wait. And it wasn't until I read the article, and I saw his name. So even the giving me the text, and the bad part is I get a lot of texts. So I actually took the time to say, maybe I should read this. And I hit the button, and I scrolled through it, and I saw Eric Coomer, and I'm like, well, that's odd. Wait, I remember that name, right? Because I remember that night I was doing research on why a guy, I thought maybe it was a plant. I thought the guy worked for the FBI or something else, and that everything was okay. I mean, that's honestly what I thought at the time, is like, let's put that on the shelf. I didn't have enough information to know that they were in 40 states. I didn't have enough information. I didn't start digging into Georgia. I didn't start digging into Pennsylvania or Arizona or all those other areas. I didn't do that, right? Because at the time there wasn't enough there, right? It didn't make sense that he would say that. I laughed about it, right? But then it started coming out, and like, hey, listen, Dominion voting systems. And then on Friday, at the same time we're doing this, I'm hearing Dominion, and I start just getting access to things on his personal profile, and then I got scared to death. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was scared to death.
You are kind of girly.
Yeah, I wasn't scared like that. I'm not scared. I'm scared that the truth is that the American voice was suppressed through this, right? That this is a deep-seated issue. It is. It's very deep-seated.
We're a little bit over on time. I want to do this. It's going to get a little trippy. Warning, Mr. Producer, put on my screen. It's going to get a little trippy. We're going to see ourselves, but let's see if let me move it. Because I'm actually controlling this. Move this up. Do you see that warning that they attached to the bottom of our stream today?
Where?
It has called the presidential race for Joe Biden. So our title is How Trump Can Still Technically Win. YouTube has basically added their own editorialization to our post. No, don't. Oh yeah. It's saying that they say that even if we say Trump can still win, they're claiming that the AP has already called it.
But the AP can't call it. The AP is not the American people. Guys, listen, the media does not have a part in who is the president. They don't.
Well, real clear politics withdraws Biden's PA win, which rescinds president-elect status. So.
They're saying that they never called PA.
Who said they never called PA?
Another, Real Clear Politics is saying that they didn't of the tally. They're saying that they never gave it to Biden. That's what they're saying. Either way, you still have a major player out there not calling it yet.
What Georgia? They haven't called Georgia yet either, right? Haven't called Georgia, so we take back Pennsylvania. That still doesn't get them there. Then we got to go over to Arizona, right?
Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Trump.
Which is separated by 15,000 votes.
Yeah.
Right? 15,000 votes.
Doable. But it requires it requires what we were talking about. The idea of the legislatures going against the fraudulent vote. That's what it would take.
Yeah,
or a judge ordering a recount.
And Michigan should be recounted. But see, the problem is that they've infected our society, guys. They've infected it. They've infected our society. They are literally trying to do what they did to Venezuela, which is destroy democracy. And by the way, I can trace Eric Coomer all the way back.
We don't have to keep talking about Eric Coomer. Today we're supposed to be talking about
Hashtag Eric Coomer is a fraud.
50 minutes talking about Eric Coomer.
He likes him. He's got a
you might have a crush.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what my crush is. I'm not gonna say it.
He loves him to death.
Joe's crushing on
how in the world is YouTube allowed to put their fingers on the scale? How is Facebook allowed to put their fingers on the scale? How are they allowed to say the Associated Press is allowed to put their finger on the scale? How is it that they get to tell us that we get to be ants in our own ant farm?
Oh, you're gonna like this. Put up my screen, Mr. Producer. This was a tweet the New York Times put out the day before the election. Said that the role declaring the winner of a presidential election in the U.S. falls to the news media. The broadcast networks and cable news outlets have vowed to be prudent. Here's how it worked. They deleted the tweet because it's obviously false.
It is
the
totally
Constitution does not give the power of declaring a winner to the New York Times.
But it has. Guys, it has.
Well, we have.
We've let weaponization of media and technology run our country. Companies are not too big to fail. Companies have gotten too big, and now they're actually running our country, and they're treating us like slaves. We are being treated like slaves. We're going to take your tax money. We're going to hand it over here to the Paris Accord. We're going to take your money, hand it over here to WHO. We're going to take it over here. We're going to hand it to these companies. We're talking about the first day in office. He wants to do more for foreign interests than he does the American people. That's truth.
Well, that's what Democrats do all the time anyways.
Not on my watch.
So you saw that with the New York Times. I want to play this because Fox News got caught in a hot mic moment.
Oh, yeah.
I want to play this because Fox News got caught almost in a similar situation where the New York Times says, we're going to call it. And at least the New York Times admitted that they're not in charge. Sandra Smith of Fox News is still holding on to this idea that because Fox called it, that just means it is what it is. Let's go ahead and play cut one.
Over whoever is decided to be the president. Remember, just because CNN says, or even Fox News says that somebody's president doesn't make them president. So I think everybody wants to know that this was done properly and legally.
What is happening? Like, Trace, we've called it.
And I think we have to look into every one of these concerns.
Yeah, and I think. Yeah, and I think Cleta makes a very good point there, Steve. You know, that look.
So she did not know she was on camera. She did not know she was recorded. We're going to play it again. Sandra Smith.
What?
This is what she says when she thinks she's off camera. Yeah. What that guest, I don't know the guest name, what that guest said is absolutely right. Just because Fox News says Joe Biden won the election does not mean that that's what the Electoral College and or Congress will decide. It's not true. Let's play it again.
Whoever is decided to be the president, remember, just because CNN says, or even Fox News says that somebody's president doesn't make them president. So I think everybody wants to know that this was done properly and legally.
What is happening? Like, Trace, we've called it.
And I think we have to look into every one of these concerns.
Yeah, and I think. Yeah, and I think Cleta makes a very good point there.
Wow.
I guess we should just stop doing the podcast because, Joe, they've called it.
They've called it.
They own us.
So sorry.
I mean, that's a meme. What?
Yeah, I know. What? We called it.
What?
Sandra Smith.
So after every football game, what? We called it.
What?
We say the other team wins. We called it.
But that is what, and I think that's why, maybe we can end on this. I think that's why so many people are frustrated with Fox. Not that Fox should automatically just take Trump's side, because no news organization should. But I think the people are so pissed at Fox is because every single one of their anchors that were involved in calling the election, they all either know or just seem to just have a desire to call it. Like they just wanted it to be called. Like they called Arizona, even though we've seen Arizona is now narrowing. But when Trump's ahead in Alaska,
listen,
they still won't call Alaska.
Here's what they did, because one called, and now there's a problem in Pennsylvania. Now they called Arizona, right? They've called these states, and they just trying to add to the leads. Like, oh, it's not 270, now it's 290. They're trying to convince the American people they're right. And by the way, we're being throttled at a rate that is not even imaginable right now, people. You need to hit the share button. Share these podcasts. Again, how are you going to be the soldiers if you're not willing to have a voice and actually speak? Speak.
I would share it, but I got booted off Facebook.
Well, that's kind of good. We're all leaving
but,
Facebook.
Tig, you'll be back. You'll be back soon because we are launching your podcast soon.
Yeah.
Yep. So you will be back on, maybe not in a personal capacity if they won't let you on, but you will be broadcasting.
Well, they won't let me on because literally I made another account, and within 48 hours they deleted it. Said it went against their violations of their whatever thingy. I had 0 posts. I haven't posted anything yet. It was just my name. So I'm like, whatever.
Incredible.
Well, and I'm going to tell you what. That's because they now are the police. They now want to.
Well, they can control the voice.
Let's hold up criminals, common criminals that are basically arrested all the time, and say,
but here's the thing,
police are bad for.
They're not really silencing me when they delete major profiles and stuff. They're not really silencing that. They're silencing everybody else. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and this is how we know. Sorry, keep going.
No, because that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't. That's why I kind of got back on Instagram and Facebook, because the more you look into it, they're not silencing me; they're silencing you, because they're giving away you. They're taking away your voice and your opinion just because I am one out there posting it. But I do a lot of reshares and stuff like that too. So I by us doing that, it expands our voice as a whole. But again, they're not just silencing me; they're silencing all of my 100,000 followers and the ones on Facebook. Again, it's yeah, they deleted my account, but honestly, I really didn't. I've had so much more extra time to work on UADF without having that stupid platform, but again, they're trying to silence you, not me.
So this is how we know that there's funny business. So right now on Facebook, we have 217. It hit 300 today. That's how many people were watching our Facebook stream. On YouTube, we were over 100 at one point. We're sitting at 65, 64 right now.
Guys,
go ahead,
listen.
Mr. Producer. Put up my screen.
And by the way, people have just decided. I got text messages, Max, where people are like, "I'm just going to go download your podcast." By the way, please hurry up and get it on your Facebook page or on your website, so that we can actually just do it there, right? And since we have our own colo locations, we have everything else, and there are multiple states. There's no way they can take us down, right? And so I'm pretty excited about that, Max.
So this is the podcast rankings for Apple Podcasts. So this is how we know that Facebook and YouTube are playing games with us. This is the podcast rankings. So you expect to have Pod Save America, NPR, Steve Bannon's War Room, Kamala Harris. She has no business being up there. Then you see Ben Ferguson, Rush Limbaugh, 538. We have now climbed to 62. We are now the 62nd most popular political podcast on Apple Podcasts. And if you look, who did we just jump over, Joe?
Young Turks. Woo, baby, let's go.
We just jumped over the Young Turks.
Who's that?
I want to be a little bit of a sleuth. Let's go on to Facebook. These are the Young Turks live videos. 6 days ago, the Young Turks went live, and they had 2.3 million people watching.
Yeah.
A week ago, they went live, and they had 343,000 people watching. Then they have ones that are 31,000, 50,000, 199, 47. The point is, we are artificially limited at 300. It's possible to go a little higher, but Facebook is doing everything they can to stop us from getting more than 300 people watching at the same time. YouTube, I don't know if they've started yet, but the fact that we have more, we're now higher in the rankings than them on Apple Podcasts, where they haven't tried any funny business with us. But on YouTube and Facebook, they're so much higher than us. It's just, it shows you that there's funny business. And again, there are links in the description if you want to like and follow and subscribe and leave us a review. On Apple Podcasts. Helps us a lot to keep climbing the rankings.
So Max, we are going to put out a campaign. All right, guys, we are going to put out a campaign. It's going to be a fundraising campaign. I do want everybody to know that up to this point, first of all, number one, never taken a dollar out of Conservative Daily as profit. We've always reinvested into what we're doing, especially this technology here. But we are going to do a fundraising campaign for Conservative Daily so that we can actually finish all this technology a lot faster. And to support kind of what we're doing in the and the whole thing with Conservative Daily. So you'll be able to help support it and help push us to a place where we can kind of eliminate the need for some of these other technology platforms. And then we'll just ask you to just walk door to door, right? Which we are going to start doing. We're literally going to get people in every state. We're going to develop these cards, and we're going to go traditionally door to door and talk to people about what we're doing, right? And have you become advocates. And frankly, that's what's worked for FEC and for United American Defense Force, right, Tig? I mean, we've done things traditionally, and we're growing like crazy as a result in that area as well. So I just want you to know that you're going to be able to be a part of it. And it's not about, how can we make more, right? I mean, look, we own a lot of companies, a lot of different things, right? Including, by the way, a gun store and range. So, which is why I always talk about people being stupid when they create death threats. It's kind of a really bad idea.
Well, they probably saw you shoot, so they're not worried.
Oh.
Ooh. Oh, no. That would only be true if they were elk.
Yes.
Oh, man.
True.
This is painful. You guys are you're not even nice. I mean, you could at least be just a little bit nice to me, right? Just pretend you want to be nice to me. Just please.
Well, you're very good with the shotgun.
Yeah.
You don't miss with the bird shot.
Well, if I shoot backwards.
Sawed off with bird shot.
You're always going to hit something.
Yeah, so we are. Just so you know, we're going to be. So Robert Morris says, "I'm here now, Max and Joe. Can you start over?" No. Go back and listen to the whole thing.
Earlier? Yeah. Did you see earlier that people were posting hashtag Joe Crush in the comment section?
Yeah, no, that's not going to be a real thing.
Hashtag Joe Crush.
We got another one that says, "Hey, Joe, I'm in Denver and would like to meet you guys." Hey, that's Johnny on YouTube. Yeah, Johnny, send me an email at joeotto at conservative-daily.com, and I will vet you first. And
could that get any longer?
What are you serious?
It could.
Man,
could.
I just want to. Are you Democrat? This is what Democrats do. They just kind of poke. Yeah.
And I do want to say on these rankings on the Apple Podcasts, we got jumped again by Chris Wallace and George Stephanopoulos, but we also went up in the rankings. So a lot of Sunday shows publish every Sunday. So you expect to see Wallace, Stephanopoulos go up every week.
Yeah.
The fact that they jumped, but we also kept climbing, very, very good, because towards the end of the week, they're going to go down in the rankings, and we're going to keep climbing up as they go down. So make sure that you check out the link in the description. If you have an iPhone, a MacBook, make sure that you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and leave us a good review. Any last words, you two, as we wrap this up, because we're a little over time today?
Yeah, Catherine, don't do the Joe Crush.
Joe Crush. Hashtag Joe Crush.
Hashtag Joe Crush.
Oh my gosh, it's killing me.
I approve.
No, he doesn't approve, people. He does not approve at all. Please don't let him approve. Look, don't egg people on. They're going to keep doing
So hashtag Joe Crush, hashtag liberal.
Hashtag not in 20 lifetimes would that be true. Although, I got to tell you, there are certain things that about being a conservative that I don't identify with conservative, right? So I don't, and people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but Chris Coomer. It's not Chris Coomer. What are you saying Chris Coomer for?
Isn't his name Chris Coomer? What's
his
name?
It's Eric Coomer. Man, I got to delete that now.
Well,
you don't want everybody starting to look up. No, I just stop it.
I'll edit it.
Hey,
I'll edit it.
Grant, it's Joe Daddy, not Joe Mama. All right?
No, it's Joe Mama.
Hey, did you see that there's hey, can we break this? That is true. Joe Biden is wanted by Ukraine because of the deal he made for his son?
Well, he's not wanted. It's still in their legal process, but he is listed as a person of interest. Like he's involved in it. Yeah.
You realize that I can see when you post, Max, and I can just delete it like I just did. Carla, what's wrong with you people?
So is what you're saying is
Joe Crush.
There's no hashtag Joe Crush. Come on, guys.
So is what you're saying is Biden's the one in fugitive?
I think so. So can we go pick him up?
Fugitive. No, he's not.
Hey, don't take that away from me.
We're not going to go live an hour and 24 minutes.
I just said Biden. I didn't say who. I just said Biden. I didn't say who. I just said Biden.
Yeah.
Christopher came up with hashtag Joe Conservative Man Crush.
Hashtag Joe Crush. So give me your final thoughts, and we'll wrap the episode up.
Okay. All right. A couple final thoughts. All right. Number one, the fight's not over, and Joe Biden is not going to be president. Sorry, it's not going to happen. I think that we do have to do a few things. One, we have to pray, and then you have, by the way, you get your final moment too. Just don't make me a Democrat, okay? Or no, going back to being serious, the army of people that voted for President Trump, those are real votes. Like, those are real people that actually voted for President Trump. Now, we don't know if it's 20 million, 15 million, 10 million votes that did not vote for Biden, but we know it's a lot, right? So it's up to us to actually speak. Courage is more infectious than fear. We have to really, truly believe that, right? Despite what the leftists have done, we've been victorious. We have actually come through this. We've protected our communities, and we've had brave people that I can't actually name that has stood up, while the rest of us has sat back on our couches. So I'm going to tell you right now, as I'm sitting here in front of you, that we can win this. But the next 4 years, if something happens and we don't get President Trump back in the White House, which is where he belongs and where the voices of the American people have spoken to, then the next 4 years, I'm sorry, but we have to be willing to sacrifice over the next 4 years to fight against this fascist oppression. And that's what it is. They're communist. They're socialists. They want to take away everything you have. They did it in Venezuela. They've done it in other parts of the world, and they're trying to do it here. A weak United States means that no longer is this the place of opportunity. And where do we turn if we don't actually stand up right now? What other country can we go to? It's been said that there's no place else other than America. There's no other place that we can go other than America. It is the last place, the last stand of freedom and symbol of freedom globally. So I'm going to tell you, God bless you. God bless the United States. Get on your knees and pray. If you don't believe in getting on your knees and pray, you can pray standing up. Just pray, right? Pray for our country. But make no mistake, this fight, regardless of who ends up in the White House, which will be President Trump, but regardless, is going to get much worse before it gets better so that it can become better for future generations. That's all I got.
All right, take final words.
Just happy birthday, United States Marine Corps, 245 years of killing commies, and 70 million veterans in this country. We got to stand up and defend her here at home.
Yes, and before we go, I wanted to get your take on it. Joe Biden seems to have cornered the always coveted Civil War veteran vote this election. What do you think about that? The fact that more Civil War veterans voted for Joe Biden than Donald Trump.
Dead.
They're all Union.
No, they're all dead.
Yeah,
they're born in 1850.
They're all dead.
That's the whole point.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's called whoosh over his head.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, I think some lady said her dog voted. They used her registration as the Social Security number for her dog because it's a service dog. Yeah, and she called and verified, and her dog freaking voted. Guess who the dog voted for?
They can make up anything, man. I'm telling you.
Biden.
Yeah.
And again,
I believe it.
And she called and verified it, and it's just that's one person. You're gonna tell me there's thousands of them like that. I'll be surprised if freaking my dog voted.
My dog wouldn't vote. My dog's kind of an ass.
Hey, Zach has a better hashtag, by the way. Yeah.
What?
Zach has one. Oh. Zach's was hashtag Joe Crush Radicals.
Nah, Joe Crush. Nah. Hashtag Joe Crush.
Yeah, Joe Crush.
Hashtag
How about
Joe
I can use that anyway. You can use Joe Crush. I'll crush some people.
What? How about Orange Crush? Hashtag Joe Orange Crush.
Hashtag
Joe and Eric sitting in a tree. KSSING.
Hashtag killing commies. I like that one.
Yeah, that works. Well, we're over and we're rambling, so that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Thanks, Take, for sitting in. Everyone, remember, go through our description on YouTube and Facebook, and make sure, and if you're listening to the audio version, make sure that you subscribe to our audio version on Apple Podcasts. Very important to help us climb through the rankings. We're also on Google Play Store, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Podbean. Also, make sure you like and follow our Facebook page and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. Very important. There's also a way for you to sign up for our text notifications when we go live, because Facebook and YouTube, they like to play games. Text FREEDOM to 89517, and you'll be alerted when we go live with our podcasts, so you don't have to rely on Facebook or YouTube to do it. There's also a way for you to join our email newsletter, link in the description. And since everyone's now going to Parler, follow us at Conservative Daily on Parler, and we will be happy to follow you back. So that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
This is Joe Otto.
This is John Tig Tigan.
And remember that the fight to take back our country isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.